Good morning, everyone. Good morning. A warm morning, warmer morning from Golders Green, where I'm situated. We're meant to learn on the way, on the journey, and today that is certainly the case, as every Friday. Trying to get ready for Shabbos. It's actually a mitzvah, did you know, to do your shopping and to get ready for Shabbos. And therefore, I am uh, just making the preparations on a short Shabbos. Let me share with you a brief idea. And firstly, as always, we say good morning to our guests, Clarice, to Caroline, and to Estelle, and all those that are still joining us this morning. So there is a fascinating idea. We dedicate our learning in memory of all those that have passed away and of Yortzeit today, and we wish the families long life. There is a fascinating idea in this week's parsha. It says that the Jewish people were blessed in the aftermath of the slavery, where they're going to be blessed with children, and when the children ask you, Ma havoida hazos lachem, a question we're all familiar with, the question of the Seder. What is this work? What is this avoida? What is this service of God? What does it mean to you? And it's at that moment in time the Torah says that the Jewish people, on hearing that, said, on hearing they were going to have children, they bowed their heads in gratitude. And the question is obvious. Why would they need to bow their heads? Again, for those that are coming in late, okay, good morning and a warm welcome. David, off the subs bench, lovely to see you. Carol, good morning. Estelle, good morning. Caroline and everyone, good morning. Clarice, good morning, everyone. Friday morning, getting ready for Shabbos. Mazel tov to the Foster family on their forthcoming bat mitzvah, the Shabbos. Anyways, so again, the verse tells us that the Jewish people were going to have children, and when they were told they were going to have children by God, all of a sudden they bowed their heads in gratitude and appreciation. The question is obvious. It's a natural phenomenon, is it not? That we always have had children, that the world wouldn't exist if we didn't have children, right? Peru Uravu, we're meant to multiply, we're meant to be fruitful, we're meant to have the next generation. So why is it that the Jewish people at this moment in time felt a sense of tremendous gratitude about being told by God that henceforth they were going to have children? And I think the answer I saw was from Rav Elazar Manshach, one of the great sages of yesteryear from Ponevezh fame, and he suggested something along the lines: it's when the Jewish people heard that they were going to have children. What does he mean? Because he said that in the generation, and we're talking about 20, 30 years ago already, Rav Shach noted that many occasions when we have children, they quickly become independent. They feel a sense of self-sufficiency, their ego overtakes them, and all of a sudden they feel that they don't need anyone. They want to be independent. They don't want to be interdependent. They don't want to be reliant. They don't want to be told what to do. Nobody can tell them. They know best. If that was true 30 years ago, friends, how much more so is that true in our generation, where at the touch of a button, you ask a child anything, they'll tell you, they'll contradict you, they'll question you, because they've got all the information in the palm of their hands, in their iPhones and in their Samsungs. So therefore, there was a sense of gratitude by the Jewish people when they heard this blessing from God. What was the blessing? That they were going to have children, to be blessed with children. In other words, they weren't going to have independent beings. They were going to be children that would respect them, that would look up to them, that would revere and listen to an older generation. If you don't have that relationship, if you don't have that respect from a child to a parent, it is a recipe for disaster. And how does that occur? That happens as a consequence of building a strong foundations in the early years, in the formative years, a strong relationship of love, respect, understanding. If we are there for our kids, if we're present for our kids and for our grandchildren, then that fosters a relationship of love and respect and endearment. I want to share with you a story, a very moving story, which I think ties into this. In the Holocaust, there was a boy called David, who I think his name at the time was David. Anyways, it was in Auschwitz, and he was about to be bar mitzvah. And tradition was in Auschwitz, there was somebody who had smuggled in, managed to hold on to a tefillin shel rosh. That's one of the two tefillin we wear. And that was what the tradition was in Auschwitz, that they would take, that was passed around, and clandestinely in the middle of the night, they would put on, or very early in the morning, they would put on the shel rosh for a few seconds and make the blessing. And that was the bar mitzvah ceremony. That's what they got in Auschwitz. But there was a father who found out that somebody recently, in a different bunk, had a full set of tefillin, and he was desperate on the day of his son David's bar mitzvah that he should wear a full set of tefillin. And so in the middle of the night, he snuck out of the bunk, and he went over and he managed to get the pair of tefillin, and he started to bring them back. And as he was bringing them back and he was about to enter into the bunk, he was spotted by the Nazi guards, and they shot him on the spot. And he fell to the ground holding on to the tefillin. The son had witnessed this. David had witnessed this, saw his father holding tefillin, and saw him being shot, carrying those tefillin for his bar mitzvah. He ran out before anyone saw. That little figure darted here and there and managed to pick up the tefillin and bring them back and put them under his pillow. And he kept this tefillin for the rest of the war. Anyways, he was tremendously angry with God, because at the end of the day, it was because of those tefillin that his father had lost his life. And he never put on the tefillin. He became complete atheist and didn't keep anything. Years went by, and eventually he was in a care home towards the end of his life. And they brought in these young teenagers, these guys that would come round and try to cheer up people and make some type of shul service for the residents. And there was one occasion where they were short for a minyan, and everyone knew that this man David, he was completely secular, wasn't interested in joining in any of the programs or services. But they were desperate for a minyan, and they were one short. And so one of the counselors went to him, and he'd been to him before, and each time he'd been rebuffed and refused. And he said to him, please, we're desperate for a minyan. Is there any chance you could just stand you could just come, or will you just sit at the back? Nobody pay any attention to you. He says, so after a few seconds of thinking, David said, reluctantly, I'm willing to come. But I'm only willing to come if after this you may make a deal with you that you're going to leave me alone, because you keep peppering me to come, and I don't want to come. I've told you before, this is nothing to do with me, this faith. I gave it all up. And he said to him, if we're going already, then take the tefillin, which are in my drawer, and bring them with. And David had always shown everyone the tefillin, not as a badge of pride, but that there is these dirty, worn out tefillin had sat for 50 years in his drawer idle, and he showed them as a sign of frustration and anger that it was these dirty, dusty, old tefillin which had caused his father to lose his life. And anyways, he took them with him, and the counselor parked the David at the back of the shul in the wheelchair, and he went out. And he came back to hear David uncontrollably sobbing. And when he saw him sobbing, he went over to him, and he noticed he was wearing the tefillin, and he said, should I take them off? Should I take you back to your room? You seem very upset. He says, no, it feels so good. It feels like I've come home to be wearing my tefillin. I feel so close to my father to be wearing these tefillin after all these years. Friends, it is very often the case that we don't appreciate things. We don't appreciate the relationship, what our parents did for us. But we don't appreciate also the connection, the relationship that we had with our parents. It's so deep, it's so profound. It's a meeting of souls and minds. And please God, we should all be able to bring up our next generation of children and grandchildren, so that they should equally have that reverence for the older generation, but also a tremendous love and affection for not just the person, but for the values that they stood for. Wishing everyone well, wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom, and looking forward to seeing some of you in shul and seeing you all next week. It's 9:30. on Sunday morning. Shabbat Shalom. Take care. Greetings from Golders Green.